All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again with our installment on traps in the Sicilian defense. Let's get right into it. E4, C5, D4, C takes D4, C3, Smith-Morra Gambit, accepted. Knight takes C3. Just for the new players out there, what does White have as compensation for being a pawn down? Well, he has a nice open C file, semi-open D file for starters, and he has a lead in development as his knight is developed, and he has control of the center squares D5 and F5. And what White wants to do is use his lead in development combined with the open files and diagonals to rapidly attack black before he can consolidate his position and realize his pawn advantage. So basically, white is relying on speed here to be able to attack black before he can get his pieces developed. So white's plan is usually to bring his bishop on f4. As you can see, this diagonal is wide open. He wants to bring the light square bishop to c4, to c4, putting pressure on that diagonal. The other knight will go to f3. Black will castle on the king side. This queen will usually go to e2, and the two rooks will go to c1 and d1 respectively. That's the usual optimal setup. Now, at Grandmaster practice, it has been shown that although white does get a slight initiative and lead in development in the opening, he just does not have enough for the pawn deficit. Although you will see this gambit as a surprise weapon, and there are many games where grandmasters do lose from the black side, so it can be a dangerous weapon to the unprepared opponent. So knight c3, e6. Remember what I said about blunting the diagonal for this bishop, and we can see e6 is already uh, on the ball with that, so to speak. So knight f3, bishop b4, queen d4, attacking two items at once. Therefore, black just plays knight c6, queen takes g7, bishop takes c3 check, b takes c3, and queen f6. So you can pause the video if you would like and try to figure out whether queen f6 is a good move or not. The idea is real simple. Black is trying to show that white's attack is premature, and with queen f6, he not only attacks the queen on g7, but also the pawn on c3, and with check, which would win the rook on a1. So, if queen takes queen, knight takes queen, that doesn't do anything for white. And of course, if he does a move like queen g3, then black will just capture the c3 pawn. So what would you do here? Well, bishop h6. Besides threatening to play queen f8 mate, white gives black some insurmountable problems here. First, if queen takes queen, and bishop takes g7 renews the threat on the rook, which cannot uh, be dealt with. The rook will just be lost. If knight takes h6, now the queen is hanging. Actually, all three pieces are hanging after that. Well, the rook on h8 is technically not. So we'll say two pieces are hanging. The the knight and the queen on f6. Of course, you would take the queen. So that's not an option either. So therefore, there's nothing that black can do after that simple move, bishop h6. Okay, let's look at our next one. Oh yeah, one more. Queen f6, of course, and just simply queen takes h8. Okay, next one. e4, c5, d4, c takes d4, c3, d takes c3, knight to c3, d6, bishop c4. Now notice white feels he has a clear shot at this diagonal, so he puts his bishop there. Now, given the speeches that I made last couple of videos, what would you do? Just simply e6, blunting the action of the bishop. Just remember that phrase, blunting the action of the bishop. However, in this game, knight f6 was played, and this is a typical Sicilian move. It's played in all different types of variations of the Sicilian. And after all, d6 is here to stop the very advanced e5. So there can be nothing wrong with knight f6. However, in this position, simple move e5. The main idea here is if d takes e5, bishop takes f7, check, exploiting the diagonal being vulnerable. The king is pulled away from the protection of the queen on d8, and it will be captured. So that's the main idea. Therefore, black would be forced to do something he doesn't want to do. For instance, I go back here, which is an ugly looking position after either e takes d6 or even e6. All ugly. Knight g4 is dubious after e6. Again, blocking the power of this bishop by just inserting the pawn there. And of course, knight h8 or knight g8 is terrible also. So that's a little thing to be careful of. You see that bishop on e6 in the Sicilian. Think about this move. But what happens is sometimes some players, you know, he probably was thinking, hey, I want to get my bishop out. I don't want to block him in right now. So therefore he played knight f6. But the correct move is just simple e6. And now the bishop has to seek to cause trouble elsewhere. Right? e4, c5, d4, c takes d4, c3, d takes c3, knight takes c3, d6, bishop c4, knight f6. Remember I told you that was incorrect. e5, knight g4, one of the variations I just showed you. e6, and we can see the problem as I pointed out. Some of you are saying, wait a minute, bishop takes e6. Well, then bishop takes e6, f takes e6, and this is called removing the defender. That's the name of that tactic. Removing the defender. So you can either remove the defender by capturing it, or you can distract it, forcing it to go somewhere else. For example, bishop b5 check, and say he decided to do bishop d7. Well, now this defender is pinned, and this can be captured. Same applies with the move like that. Again, the defender is pinned or removed in that way, and this can be captured. In this case, the defender is cut off from the defense. Of course, not f takes e6 because same result. So instead, and you get the same outcome. And that, my friends, is called removing the guard. And again, we can see that bishop on c4 in the Sicilian can cause a lot of trouble. So anytime you see it pop up on c4, it's best to just play e6 and just dead the bishop on his intentions. All right, next one, e4, c5. Don't worry, we'll be out of the Smith-Morra section soon. d4, c takes d4, c3, d takes c3, knight takes c3, knight c6, respectable move, knight f3, d6, and there's bishop c4 again, knight f6, we already discussed this, right? e5, d takes e5. This time he figures, hey, I got the queen protected by the knight and the king, so it should be all right. Queen takes d8, knight takes d8. What would you do here? Would you play knight takes e5, or would you look for something stronger? Don't think about it. The knight and the king are guarding f7. Here's the move. Knight b5, threatening the fork. And if king d7, for example, then simply knight takes e5 check. King e8, and notice too, all these squares are guarded, so the king can't go anywhere. Right? All these squares are guarded. The bishop has that square. This knight is covering that square and that square, and this knight covers that square and the square the king is on. So I sense a mating net here. So if the knight takes e5, king e8, knight c7, checkmate. Now that was pretty. Let's look at that again. Again, excuse me. After the incorrect knight f6, e5 comes, and notice too, there's two, there's two pieces designed to stop the advance e5, and neither one of them are effective. It's the knight on c6 and the pawn on d6. Breakthrough happens anyway. D takes e5, queen takes, knight takes, knight b5, king d7, knight takes e5 check, king e8, knight c7 checkmate. All right, let's look at one more. e4, c5, d4, c takes d4, c3, d takes, knight takes c3, knight c6, good move, knight f3, d6, bishop c4, Knight f6 again. Yep, trying to drill it into your mind. Watch out for watch out for this move, and watch out for not playing e6. If you're the white player and the black player doesn't play e6, always look for this push and combinations on this square. So e5, d takes e5, queen d8, knight takes d8, knight b5. So we have the same situation, and we see that the last time king e7 did not work. So black comes up with a different defense, plays knight e6. The idea is to use a knight there to guard that square, but of course you see the bishop here also. So therefore, again, we have another idea of removing the defender of the square. In this case, this knight is defending the square on c7. Snatch, so bishop takes e6, and it doesn't matter how black recaptures, the knight is going to c7. For example, bishop takes e6, knight takes c7 check, and winning the rook. And if he gets ugly with the pawn structure, plays f takes e6, knight c7 check, winning the rook. What's the moral of the story there? Is when you are defending, do not put your trust and faith in a defender that can just be captured or driven away, because that's usually what will happen. An experienced player will drive the defender away or capture it. So that's what makes knight e6 dubious here, is that the black player was banking his hopes on protecting the square with the piece that was just vulnerable. All right, all right. So that's it for now, and we will see you on the next video. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe and like, and check out some of the other videos. It's not just all on openings. It's different videos also. All right. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.